Hey guys, it's Melanie. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Let's do a chit chat. Get ready with me. This is kind of an easy video for me to do, and I meant to actually pre-film a couple of things this past weekend. However, turns out I got me an ear infection just in this ear right here, and it's real freaking annoying. But I do have medication, so I ended up going to like an urgent care on Saturday, and yeah, urgent care is a beautiful resource when you have something like an earache. So, okay, so chit chat, get ready with me. Today I do have a topic in mind. I am so curious about your guys' take on this particular topic. And I thought at the beginning of the video, when I do my powder foundation, I could kind of walk you through that real quick and sort of do double duty of also this being my summertime foundation routine, because it's been hot, you guys. It was like in the upper 90s this weekend, which was a very drastic jump in temperature for us, because we've been so cold in Oregon this whole spring. It was just a very drastic jump. So anyway, by the way, have been for a number of days now, been testing out a new SPF. I'm going to be uploading my thoughts on this a little bit later on this week. This is the Tula Probiotics and Superfoods Mineral Magic SPF 30. This has UVA and UVB protection. Yeah, I picked this up at Ulta. Have you guys tried this? I really kind of like it. Spoiler, I really kind of like it. So, all right, so what I did is earlier this morning, right after getting out of the shower, I put on my skincare and then put on my SPF. This has been sitting for about 15 minutes, so it's pretty, I feel like it's ready for makeup at this point. So I'm taking my Laura Mercier translucent loose setting powder, this guy right here. I just put a little bit in the cap, and now I'm taking a dry beauty sponge. This one is from Pure, I don't know, use your beauty blender, Real Techniques, whatever. And so I pick up some of the powder on the sponge, and then I take a mirror because I need one, and I start pressing this all over my face. I am shiny everywhere, so I just put the powder everywhere. If you just have an oily T-zone, just do this in your oily T-zone. And if you're afraid of looking too matte, I don't know, that's not a problem for me. I start out really matte to begin with, because that way throughout the day when the oil production ramps up a little bit, it looks, I mean, a little shiny, but not like crazy like how it would. So I don't know. If you have dry skin, this is not the foundation routine for you, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I'm just kind of like pressing this into my skin, just tapping. It's gonna look insane. I'm gonna look very pasty for a little while. And as I run out of powder, I just grab a little bit more. And we just keep pressing. I was using this, not Real Techniques, what's this? This is, oh, the BK Beauty. I was using this number 101 brush from them, which is kind of, it's a foundation brush, but I'm sure it's intended for liquid foundation. I was using this to press it into my skin, and this works quite well also because it's very dense. So a really dense brush, you can also use that for something like this. Okay. Let's keep going here. So on my nose, that is especially shiny, so I really just kind of press that into my skin. And grab some more. I really sort of push the powder into the sponge so that it doesn't fall off. And then the tapping really does a good job of pushing it into the skin, giving me that extra oil absorption. Ugh. I really thought by like my 40s that I just wouldn't have to do this anymore, but it's better. It is much better. One of the best things that I've done for my oily skin, by the way, is I started hydrating it, and hydrating it a lot. that made a world of difference, you guys. I've talked about this before, but if you are super oily, try hydrating your skin. It will counteract your natural oil production, because your skin is going to think like, oh yeah, I don't need all this extra sebum, and it's going to stop producing it. So, okay, I'm going in with my Laura Geller Balance and Brighten. By the way, I will link everything that I put on my face in the description box down below. I also have some eye primer on. I'm just finishing up the last of my Viseart. I don't really feel the need to put powder over my eye primer. I just go in with the powder foundation and that sets it just fine. So this is the BK Beauty 105 brush. This is really nice for powder foundation. And then I just buff it into my skin. I have been wearing powder foundation for years because this just really works the best for me in terms of evening out my skin tone just a little bit, providing a little bit of coverage. It's lightweight. It provides not like a matte finish, it's more of like a demi matte finish, but I really like it. I would be so bummed if this Laura Geller Balance and Brighten ever went away. And I do bring it up like right underneath my eyes. I use eye cream. I don't have a problem with that looking cakey. But again, I don't have a dry, like dehydrated skin type necessarily. So I think for me, using powder underneath the eyes is fine, but it's probably not going to be okay if you are very, very dry. And what's nice about the Balance and Brighten is if I do want to build it up just a little bit, I can take a sponge and just pat it into the powder. And where I want a little bit of extra coverage, I just press it into the skin. And I do go back with my brush and make sure that it doesn't look cakey. I sort of work it into the skin. Now the tone of the Balance and Brighten and Fair is less than ideal for me because it's very neutral. I have a very, I have a lot of yellow in my skin. So I have been using the Laura Geller, this was her Baked Elements foundation. This is now discontinued, but this is the shade Porcelain. This is actually the perfect color match for me. So it's a very light, more yellow based shade. And I just bought several of these when they were on clearance. So this is how I've been adjusting my Fair, Balance, and Brighten for a number of years. And it works great. But usually I can also just take any other like more yellow tone powder and put it over top and it looks great. Okay. So after this, the foundation is done. All right, so let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did. I'm going to get into my little topic at this point because I'm so curious about your guys' take on this. So I have been super interested in true crime, like a lot of people these days, for years. But like, I remember being in, like in high school, watching like Unsolved Mysteries and, wherever I could get some kind of true crime content back in the late 80s and early 90s, like I would totally watch it. It would scare me so badly because, being 13 years old and, watching Unsolved Mysteries at home alone in the dark, like if my parents went out on a date night, like 13, I was old enough to watch my siblings, so I would stay behind, watch Unsolved Mysteries, and just be terrified being at home because we lived out in the country at that point. Not great, but anyway, found it super fascinating. So true crime has always been something that has really fascinated me. And for me, it was more of I always have been curious about what makes people go to such drastic lengths when they are, at what point, like in your brain, is there a switch that says, yes, like, take this person's life. Like, this this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. Like that part of it has always been so fascinating to me. Like what happens in the human brain? What are like the social things happening around this person that are leading them to make this like horrible decision? And they're not only like taking someone's life, but they're also ruining their own life in the process, right? Like a lot of people get caught. Those that don't get caught have to live with what they did for the rest of their lives. And some people really struggle with that. Some don't. Some people are psychotic, you know. But yeah, it just has always been super fascinating to me. But I was on, and let's get to what I meant to like, oh geez Louise, you guys, I'm sorry, my words. I think my ear infection is like, I think burrowing into my brain at this point. It's fine. I'm not having a stroke, I promise. So I was on YouTube a couple weeks ago, and just, you know, the algorithm was suggesting things, and all of a sudden this video from a guy, a creator, it's a commentary channel. His name's Nick, and the name of the channel, Nick Is Not Green. I've never heard of him before. This was the first video that I've ever seen of his. But it just randomly popped up, and he was talking about how are true crime channels ethical, especially those that do their makeup while they are telling these like horrific stories of how people were murdered. Like, it's just like, it was such an interesting like question to bring up that until that moment, I had not thought twice about the concept of, you know, like everybody watches Bailey Sarian, and then after, I think someone before Bailey Sarian was doing this as well, but I don't know that she got as popular as Bailey. But anyway, Bailey was one of the first, and then of course, like everybody, since there's a million true crime channels now, right? And most of them use the Bailey Sarian formula of doing their makeup while they're telling these stories. And I have to admit, when I first started watching YouTube true crime stuff, for me it was like, I really enjoyed Kendall Rae's content because she didn't do makeup. I actually found the makeup portion of it to be a little bit distracting for me. When I first started getting into like the YouTube true crime stuff. So I didn't subscribe to Bailey for a very long time, just because I would always like, I would watch her do the makeup and then I would lose track of the story, and then I'd be like, wait, what is happening? Why? Wait, what? Where did it all go wrong? I couldn't like keep up with both, if that made sense. And so, you know, for the longest time, I was mostly just watching Kendall Rae, and I really have always thought that Kendall handles the true crime stories probably the best out of anyone on the YouTube platform that does this type of content. She's always been so like respectful, and the way that she presents things is in a much more reserved fashion, and I guess it does come across as a lot more respectful. And the thing that Nick was kind of mentioning that was problematic is that, is it disrespectful to use, you know, someone's tragic ending as a topic for a YouTube video, and then worse yet, is it completely disrespectful to be doing your makeup while you are discussing the last moments of someone's life, right? Like, is this whole concept really weird? And how did this come to be? Like, it's just such an interesting approach to sharing content, right? Like, I think most of us are fascinated by what people do and why they do it, but you know, we all kind of consume things a little bit differently. And I was just kind of curious about your guys' take, because I honestly had never thought of it that way. Like, I had never thought that it could potentially be really hurtful if like family members of the people who had, you know, who had their lives taken, like what if they watched these videos? Would they feel like their family member was honored properly when the story was shared in a way that just is like so casual and everyday. Like, does that take away from, you know, sharing this person's story by doing it when you're putting on your makeup? Which, but I don't know how these true crime people do it, how they I used to probably be able to do this, but man, after I had Stella, my multitasking skills and speaking skills have declined significantly. I don't think Bailey has any children. Maybe that's maybe that's the key to her success. I'm actually curious. Like, I know Kendall Rae is pregnant now, but I'll be curious to see if their content styles change, like, as these guys all have kids. Because I could not, like, there's no way that I could keep track of, like, a script and doing my makeup at the same. I can barely talk to you guys right now doing both of these things, and I look insane. I know. It's by the end, it all comes together. It'll be fine. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Like, how do you feel about true crime channels? Like, if you've never thought of it that way, like if I just, you know, blew your mind here with this topic. Yeah, I had just always thought, like, it's really interesting for me to learn about this stuff. And it's, you know, like, Bailey will giggle here and there in her stories, but I think she's one of those people that giggles when she gets uncomfortable or when she finds a situation just really just off and just doesn't know how to react. And so a lot of people do giggle or laugh or have weird tics when they are reading something that makes them uncomfortable or talking about something that makes them uncomfortable. So I don't judge her for that at all, but I really now look at the true crime channels in a different way. I don't know that I will continue to watch the makeup ones because I thought, like, what if I had a family member and something happened to them and I came across one of these videos where Bailey or Bella Fiore or whoever was, like, talking about it? Would I be offended or put off by the fact that they were putting on makeup while they were talking about something tragic that was, like, related to my life? And I actually came to the conclusion that, like, I do think it would bother me. And I just can't believe that I'd never thought of that before. But I just had always been, like, a consumer of the true crime stuff, and it fascinated me. And I thought, well, you know, like, I'm learning about it because it fascinates me. And, like, my background, so I have a degree in social work. So all the classes that I ever took in college, besides the ones that I needed, like, you know, statistics and, like, the liberal arts stuff that I had to attach to my degree, but most of my courses were either in psychology or sociology, so, like, studying the brain or studying the societal impacts and how that, you know, creates people and affects their decisions and how they, you know, either succeed or fail in life. Like, that kind of stuff is just fascinating to me, and true crime kind of falls within that. It's like, where does it go wrong? Where does it go right? What can we do in society to prevent stuff like this from happening? Which, by the way, I think people are just inherently always, they're going to be bad people. I don't think we can get rid of them. I'd love to get rid of bad people, but I feel like the last probably decade or two that I've really been paying attention to news and world events have just really jaded me. I think people are just terrible. Some people are terrible, and that's all there is to it. But anyway, I am really curious about your guys' take on this. By the way, there's other content creators that have sort of brought up the ethics of these beauty/crime channel gurus. So it wasn't just Nick. There's a few videos out there, but I'll link Nick's and a few other commentary channels as well in the description box, and you can go check them out and see if, you know, if this is something that changes your mind, or, I mean, does it bother you? Do you care? Is this something that you've ever even thought about? Yeah, it really kind of, like, got me where I was like, oh man, I did not think of it that way. Like, And it does seem to me now just a little bit disrespectful to to be doing something so casual and like frivolous when you're talking about something that is so tragic and life-changing for a family, or for, you know, anyone, the friends, everyone that knew the person that is no longer here. So anyway, all right, my multitasking skills are, I'm struggling. So I'm going to finish my makeup. I'm going to come back and show you guys the finished look. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I finished the rest of my makeup and went and dried my hair a little bit. So this is the finished look today. Anyway, I am so curious about your guys' take on the topic of makeup and true crime and the combination of those two things together. Like, are any true crime channels ethical? Because most people that have true crime channels, those particular channels tend to be very successful. And, you know, those channels are monetized. And so the creators do make AdSense or sponsorship money off of those videos. I don't know, like, is any of it ethical? I had honestly, and I don't know why I had never thought of this, because, you know, this is totally something that would be up my alley to like be like, wait a second. But I just never thought about it that way. And it was definitely very eye-opening to watch that video and see a different perspective. So anyway, you guys, I'm going to go put some more eardrops in. And I will see you guys in the next one. Check out the description box down below if you want to know what I ended up putting on the rest of my face. Let me know if you have any questions. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, interesting, whatever. And subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.